So AI, a
Mhm.
lot of discussion in the post-secondary level. Which are the top areas of IT that I might want to consider? Where are the jobs? I send out emails periodically to our faculty and staff
Oh, yeah.
about job
Yep,
opportunities.
for sure.
So welcome to MCC Office Hour. My name is Dean Art Brown, and I'm here today with one of our faculty members, Jayson McCune. Jayson leads our computer programming pathway here at MCC in the IT department. The purpose of this podcast is to have candid conversations with our community partners, staff, and faculty members as we aim to drive interest in the various areas of IT that students can pursue here at MCC. Today, we're going to delve into specifically the insights of Jayson's program, computer programming. He'll share a little bit about his personal experiences, insights into computer programming, and what opportunities are available for our students after they complete their program here at MCC. So again, welcome, Jayson. Glad to have you here
Yeah,
today.
thanks.
Gotcha. So Jayson, if you could start by sharing with us the IT curriculum in the programming area at MCC. What challenges do you see that students face in preparing for this pathway of study?
Yeah, so probably the biggest challenge is just like the learning curve. So there's always a small learning curve to a large one, depending on your experience with computers. Just getting into computer programming and the thought process, it's a different way to solve problems. And so it's a lot of different thinking. And usually that's the biggest challenge students have. As far as getting into jobs, I think experience is big. So getting an internship is really a good one. And sometimes students struggle with that as well because they've never done
Gotcha.
resumes or they've never done that kind of thing. And we have things to help with that at the college. So we've got support for that.
Okay.
But that tends to be where students seem to struggle the most is in those areas.
Gotcha. And forgive me, Jayson, let's back
Yeah.
up a minute. So tell us about the program that you oversee,
Yeah, for sure.
courses, trajectory for students, and future opportunities after they get through. So if you could.
Yeah, for sure. We've got a couple of different pathways that we've set out, and the main one that we have set out right now for programming is the web and application development, mobile application development. So basically, that's doing what we call full stack, which is you do programming for the database, for all the data underneath and the bottom, and then you do the programming for the middle tier and all the stuff that is in the middle of translating the data into useful information. And then we have the actual UI interface, user interface that the user will interact with and see. And we call it a stack because we have different technologies that do each thing. And so we call it a full stack in that of they're all fully there. And so we teach students how to do most of that. And so we hit on pretty much each layer of that. And you can specialize in user interface if you want to in another area, or if you want to in another area, if you like it, you can specialize in the analysis of databases and taking care of databases. But in the programming area, what we do is we focus on interacting with an already existing database and how to get the information out of it. And then we focus on the programming using one of the languages, either computer programming languages, either Java, C#, or Python, or C++. Those are the 4 languages we cover. And you can choose 2 of those. And we use that to talk to the database, get the data out of it, and turn that into the useful information or useful models, and then we use that to talk to the user interface to then display the information correctly and to interact with users' requests and things that they want to do with it.
Okay.
And so that's kind of the main pathway. And then we've got another pathway that we're starting out this fall that's going to be more oriented towards game building. And so we've got a new game developer degree, and that's going to be doing game engines and simulations, and basically just how do you simulate an environment that people interact with.
Okay.
And so there's multiple things in that, but it's developing games mostly.
So tell us how you got to MCC, maybe some of your professional experiences, and maybe a couple things that you liked in your previous profession, what you hopefully love about MCC and teaching our students, if you can share that too.
Yeah, for sure. So I started out doing a bachelor's in computer science at UNO, and then I graduated in 2008 with that, and right in the middle of downturn, so it was really hard to find a job. So I just went back to school and got my master's, and I got my master's in management information systems, and so MIS. Basically, that's just big words meaning that you take the systems that are there and you figure out how to solve business problems with them. And so I did that. And then when I got done with that, I went and worked for Union Pacific as a computer programmer for a while. And then I also transitioned there as well to do a business analyst. So I did both sides of the tech world there. And I did that for 4 years. And then I transferred over here to MCC. And so just had a job opening here at MCC and applied, and yeah, I got it. So I've loved teaching since way back, but I really got into teaching college classes when I was a graduate assistant at UNO. Some of my graduate assistantship responsibilities was to teach a few classes. And so I just fell in love with teaching and passing on knowledge and seeing students grasp things and light bulbs going off. That's I love it. I love the interaction with the students, and so the best part of teaching is interacting with students and seeing students grasp the tech and grasp the ideas and just seeing things click for them. It's really cool and rewarding.
Okay, cool. Glad to hear that. In your opinion, how crucial is networking and building professional connections for students and professionals? And additionally, do you have any tips that would help students or professionals have effective networking?
Yeah, so it goes back to like what I was saying, internship. Students struggle with that. And if you can get over that initial how do I sell myself struggle, internships are huge because you get some base ground experience, and it looks really, really good on a resume as well, to get your foot in the door of, hey, I've had experience at this company doing some type of internship. So networking is huge because what that does is that allows you to get word of mouth for job opportunities and for things that are out there. And the more you network, the better your chances are of landing a really good job. And so internships are really good. Networking things are really good. Also, just getting out there and meeting people and finding people that are through LinkedIn or through some other like Handshake, what we've got here. Just asking questions. People are more than happy and willing to help you get your foot in the door, to help you connect or know what to do. And if you have any questions on anything, don't hesitate to find somebody who's working in the field and just ask them questions. People are more than willing to answer, and they love helping other people to get started. So
so that response kind of leads into my next thought. So let's say I'm a new potential MCC student looking at computer programming as an option. What would you suggest for a student or anyone prospectively considering this as a career or educational pathway? What are some pros and cons that you can share, things that they might want to ask themselves if this is a right pathway for me?
Oh yeah, for sure. So a big one is, do you like computers, right? Do you like sitting at computers and typing? Because a lot of it is that, but there is some interaction with other people as well. And I think most people see it in movies, you know, you're just sitting there typing on a computer, and so they have that idea that that's what a programmer does all day. Some of it is, so there's a misconception there too. I mean, you do interact with other people and you work on a team, and you're talking to, sometimes you're talking to people that use your program as well for troubleshooting or anything else that's going on. But I'd say some of the big thing is just a pro to programming is you're not just learning the programming language. Once you have the language down and you go out and you do something like, when I worked at Union Pacific, I learned a ton about the railroad and how it works and how they transition cars and the way trains work and all the rules and regulations that go around what they can do with trains. And so in programming, it's not just the programming, it's the pro is you get to learn lots of different things. So like if you go and work for, say, Mutual of Omaha, you're going to learn all about insurance and how insurance companies work and how the rules work and how they process things. If you go work for like First National, the bank, you know, you learn all about the banking system and how that works. And so I think one of the biggest pros for me was that it wasn't just programming. I was learning lots of different things. And no matter what you're doing, you're going to be learning something new. And so that's really, really cool. But yeah, a con could be that sometimes it does get a little lonely. You're just sitting there programming, typing. So if you aren't keen on just looking at a screen and being alone, it could be a little bit of a con for you, but that's a positive for me. So that wasn't a con for me at all.
Fair enough.
But Yeah.
And then I'll kind of mention this too. So, as the dean, I still interact with several students, and similar conversations. Students are asking me which are the top areas of IT that I might want to consider, where are the jobs, kind of what I just asked you, pros and cons. The compensation piece comes up quite often to me with students, and my general response, and I'm curious to hear yours as well. You worked in that space. I generally tell students you need to love what you do. Don't let the financial reward drive your desire to pursue a pathway. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, for sure. Yes, definitely. You need to really enjoy your work and love what you do, because no amount of money is going to make up for that, for hating your job. So you could be paid, all the money in the world, and if you hate your job, you're going to be miserable.
Right.
And so you want to have a job that you at least enjoy going to, at minimum.
Yes.
And if you can find work that you really, really love, no matter what the pay, you should definitely go for it.
Gotcha.
And so, yeah, I would totally agree with that and say that. And there's so many different areas in IT. I mean, obviously, I'm going to toot the horn for programming because that's what I do and I love it. But there's other areas too. There's more like computer repair or networking, or, there's lots of areas that we cover here at MCC that you can try and get into instead if the programming doesn't seem to click as well for you. And that's the other thing too is I get students all the time that are, this is going to pay the best. And I'm like, well, not necessarily. You can get paid a lot of money to do other things too in IT. And you don't have to do programming. And I think that's one of the myths of the programming pays the best, so I got to do programming. But it's not necessarily true anymore, for sure. So there's so many other areas too. And, I feel like I'm not selling programming very well. So, but outside of that, it's just, to me, it's less about what you're doing and more about how you feel about it and how it helps. So like basically how it helps you to reach your goals and to be productive and feel like you're contributing and that you're doing the best that you can do. And so, it's more about the individual students and what they get out of it. And then in turn, what they can, how well and what they can give back once they've made it through the degree.
Love it. Okay.
And got a job. So,
gotcha. So kind of a personal one. So Jayson, can you recall a specific moment in your journey, in your, professional pathway when you realized you had truly made it? What were the circumstances and feelings that accompanied that realization for you?
Yeah, probably one of the big ones was just my first job. It was like, oh, wow, I'm not in college anymore. And so it was really huge because just that validation of yes, I have learned enough and somebody does value my skills and my ability to work enough to pay me was really huge. And I mean, you get that with any job out of college, but for like programming wise, a big one for me was probably when I started working and doing my first thing, and then seeing somebody use the program that I had worked on and something I did, seeing somebody else coming back to it later and seeing somebody else use it, build on that was really, really cool for me. And it was like, okay, I'm part of this block that built this system. It's like building a building with a brick. I laid this brick, somebody else built on top of that brick. Cool. And so it was a very cool experience for me for that. So I really enjoyed that.
Okay, very cool. Can you share a pivotal moment in your journey, your career pathway, that significantly shaped your perspective? So kind of an overlapping question.
Yeah, so something that shaped my perspective, it would probably be like just the daily meetings. It just seemed like when you're working in the area, because when you're doing college classes, a lot of times you're doing it on your own.
Right.
And so you're doing the homework assignments or whatever, you're just programming on your own. And so when I got into a job, it was, well, no, sometimes they do what's called pair programming. So you sit at a desk with another person and actually program. And so interacting and building with other people, it was like, okay, this isn't just me. It's not just something I'm doing on my own. There's a team effort and there's multiple people I'm interacting with on a daily basis. And so it was just that whole, I'm part of a team and I'm part of doing something. And so it changed my perspective on how I worked and what I did, and also on the meaning of my work. And so it became more of a, how do I help other people in my job, and not just how do I get my job done, but how do I make it best for the whole team, and how do I help everybody else in the team to succeed?
Gotcha.
That whole, rising tides brings up all boats kind of a thing. So
Gotcha.
the better I do and the better I can do for my teammates, then the better the project becomes, the better the product is.
Okay. So let's go a little deeper on that. So the pair programming concept, and I know you discussed this in your class with students, but maybe elaborating more to our audience or students that are listening to this, how critical is that? I know the answer, but sharing with the audience.
For sure. Yeah. So it's super critical because the more eyes you have on a program, the less errors you typically have. And so what happens is you see these products that come out that have all kinds of bugs and they have issues. And well, they rushed it and they had one person on one piece that nobody else looked at. And so then they introduce and produce all the errors. And so the better products that you get for programming have multiple eyes on things. And so whether it's what's called a quality assurance engineer, a QA, they look and test things. And so they have somebody that will look through all the program and use it and try to see if they can break it. And but with the pair programming, what that basically boils down to is you've got two programmers sitting at a desk, and typically they take turns, but a lot of times one person will be typing and the other person will be like, okay, let's do this. And they'll have a conversation about the programming. And so instead of just one programmer doing it, it's the two of you working out, okay, how do we solve this problem together and make this a better use of the program? And so, it's basically there's two of you just going at it and trying to solve the problem and make the programming that you're doing the best that it can be and to work the best.
Gotcha. And you said, and I probably should have prefaced that, more importantly, the collaboration piece, which the broader question that you touched on it earlier, that it's not necessarily about the misconception of me as a programmer or whatever my role in IT is, sitting in front of a computer working by myself, but the broader impact of being able to collaborate with a team member. Any additional thoughts on that piece of it?
So it's just that, being part of a team, it's more like a sport really than it is and a solo thing. So it's more like playing basketball and passing back and forth, and all of the people on the team work together to get to the goal. Whereas, it's not like golf where it's just you by yourself swinging at it and get to the goal.
And just stressing that, I think debunking the myth that it's never a solo. You just great analogy with golf, but it's about a team effort, and no one IT professional is going to be working by themselves in a silo at any point. So
exactly.
Okay. Gotcha. So Jayson, throughout your teaching experience, have you had a rewarding, unforgettable moment or success story with a student who pursued your computer programming pathway?
I'd say probably one of the better ones was I had a young student coming through, and he was like, well, what can I do to make myself better at this programming? And so, I gave him some tips and some different places where he could practice. And then just having that drive to make the best and be the best that you can be was really cool to see. And then on the flip side of that, he ended up getting a job at Northrop Grumman after his associate's degree.
Cool. Okay.
So he got a really good job out of that because he was not just doing the homework and just doing what he needed to get by, but he was pursuing really hard.
Right.
And so just being able to talk with him and to bounce ideas, and because he would always come to me and go, hey, I got this problem that I'm trying to do something with. I tried this, and just that engagement was really, really cool. So that was really rewarding to see the outcome of that and his effort rewarded for him in that area. So.
Okay, I like that. And then I'll elaborate on that further. So just reflecting on conversations I have with students, the networking, going back to that piece, and then just the hunger to be better or the best at your chosen craft or profession. How critical. I mean, you've said it, but maybe just, again, for the listening audience.
For sure. The idea that I just get a grade and I get a good grade, and once I get a good grade, they're going to hire me. That doesn't always connect like that. So you can be really good at programming, but if you can't talk to anybody, you're not going to get hired because nobody's going to like talking to you, right? And so that drive is visible. People can see that when you have a drive and a passion for what you do, and that's attractive. And so if you have a drive and a passion for programming and you really go at it, and you're sharing what you're doing and you're passionate about your sharing of what you're doing, that's attractive. People like to see that, and they like to come closer to that. They want to be a part of that. And so it's almost like basically, hey, look at this cool thing I'm doing. You want to come alongside me and see it or work with me on it. And so that inclusive type of thing, that's great for teams. That's great for jobs and all kinds of stuff. And so that makes you more employable for sure.
So the hunger that the
yep.
student showed you, that he had the initiative drive.
And then the networking, so that initiative and that drive, that was huge. But then also in that aspect of that, when you're doing an initiating and drive and you get into, there's this, almost like Reddit, there's a programming community. And so you can get into different forums and different areas and talk to other programmers. Right. And when you do that, you start networking and you start making connections and things like that. And so there's a huge, what they call it, share software, or I forgot the word for it. But basically it's freeware that people interact with, but you have programmers that will get together and on their own free time just make things, and they'll contribute to this, and they'll do it for free. Right. Just kind of hobby. They just love programming that much. And so there's a lot of freeware like that that's
open
out
source
there.
community?
Open source, yes, open source community. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know why I blanked on that. But yeah, so the open source community, and then that's huge too. I mean, because that's a networking thing, and that looks really good on a resume as well. Of hey, I've got this project I've been working on, and this is the thing I did for that project. And it shows that you can work in a team. It shows that you can complete something that you started, and it shows the quality of your work as well. And so doing that kind of stuff helps you to reach out to people and to interact with them in a network. And even through that, you may even get opportunities for jobs as well.
Gotcha.
But really, the goal isn't the job. The goal is the networking in the community and just getting to know people and making yourself better at that.
Right.
The better you are at communicating and selling yourself and talking about things that are going on and things you're doing, the easier and better interviews go for you.
Gotcha. And I'll go on this topic a little bit further. I'm just reflecting students I have conversations with, and hopefully you can attest, I send out emails periodically to our faculty and staff about job opportunities.
Yep, for sure.
And I tell students that I interact with that, talk with your instructors. If they know who you are and you leave a lasting impression, we get, you get job opportunities as I do. And, the first students that come to mind are the ones that leave a lasting impression. So that hunger and passion that student showed you, I'm assuming an opportunity that come across your desk, you would have probably had them at the top of your radar.
For sure.
Is the point I wanted to stress.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, like that student that did the Northrop Grumman one. I think he came to me for his interview part of it. He had to get a security clearance, right? So for working government stuff. And so, I was happy to do that because I remembered him and remembered interacting with him.
Left a good impression.
Yeah, left a really good impression.
Good.
So,
Okay. As a mentor to aspiring IT professionals or students, what advice could you give to someone who's embarking on their journey, in addition to what you've already shared? Any additional advice you might have?
Yeah, so the like I said before, just the internship, that's really huge. And then going beyond what you learn in the class, just continual learning and trying to do as much as you can and getting experience in different things, just broadening your horizons in that's huge. And also doing other things outside of programming. So if you like anything really, I mean, it's something else. Do other things, and that you can actually bring those concepts and skills you learned in the other things to your work. Like, so you like playing soccer, right? Or basketball or whatever. You go join a team. That teamwork and interacting and working with people, that you'll use that in your job.
Gotcha.
That same kind of concepts. Okay. So do other things besides just programming, but do a lot of programming as well. And try different things and learn different things, and don't be afraid to try something new.
Gotcha. How important is it to do a lot of programming, or portfolio specifically, like in the area of programming and web app development? How critical is that for a student?
So I think having a portfolio, something you've worked on is really, really good. And we use, a lot of times programmers will use something that's called Git, G-I-T. And so it's an open free server that you can store your programs you've written on that anybody can download if you make it public.
Gotcha.
And so they can download and look at it and run it and see how it works. Or you can share it with other people. It's that open source type of thing as well. Git is used a lot for that. And so, yeah, I would say work on things, do things, take like a homework assignment and build more on it and put it up on there. And then you can point in your resume, you can have a link, or you can email the link to prospective employers of, hey, here's something I worked on. Here's some things I worked on. And even then, go try to join an open source one. See if sometimes they're pretty open about that, about letting new people come in and work on things.
Gotcha.
Sometimes it's just hey, here's something I did to improve this, and you give it to them, and then they process it, look through it, and say, okay, yeah, that's great, we'll add to it, or
Gotcha.
no, it's not going to work, or whatever. But yeah, so you can get into that kind of thing as well. And so if it's hey, I've contributed to this open source product, that's huge too.
Gotcha.
for networking and for interviews and getting jobs.
As an expert in our programming pathway, what do you believe are the most exciting and relevant developments in this field currently?
Yeah, so really, I mean, everybody's talking about it, but
AI.
artificial intelligence, AI, it's huge right now. And so just the idea of how is that going to change the way people program and the way people interact with software. And I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do with it. And so I don't think it's going to replace programmers. I mean, there's articles out there and people talking about it, but my experience with it is it's not advanced enough yet to replace a human in programming. And so basically what it's going to be is it's going to be used as a tool. So you're going to be using AI to produce or make the simplified things, and then you're going to build on that.
Right.
And so it's going to be a starting tool of hey, give me this thing to use. And then you're going to go from there.
Right.
And so, yeah, AI is a big one. And then I think also that just the idea that computers and software has permeated almost everything in our society. I mean, bicycles now have computer chips in them. So toasters, everything does. And so becoming a programmer is your job opportunities and the things you have the opportunity to do is actually expanding because it's going into lots of different areas of life. And so, I mean, fridges and cars, and just everything, smart devices, everything has something. I mean, even now we're getting into where sometimes clothes will have computer chip wearable technology, and so you'll have stuff in clothing as well. And so it's spreading basically.
Gotcha.
So there's a lot of good opportunities in different areas of different types of things to get into for programming. It's not just building websites or just building, some kind of software product. There's a lot of other areas that are really cool and exciting.
Gotcha.
And then also like the 3D type of area where you're building something. There's programming for that as well. A certain type of programming where you can program the lathes and all the stuff to make something. And so that's becoming more as well, production type stuff.
Gotcha.
So there's lots of different areas where programming is becoming more embedded into it. I would say also another good one is like what we're doing with gaming. There's a lot of stuff. The gaming is starting to spread as well. So like I know as an example, Unreal Engine is a game engine that is used to make video games. However, they're using that to make the backgrounds in TV shows. So like the TV show Mandalorian, right? They have this screen for their area that is built in Unreal Engine. And Unreal Engine uses C++. And so in that you can use C++ to program a simulated environment, and that can be used in a TV show.
Gotcha.
And so there's lots of that's really cool stuff coming up too.
Gotcha. So a couple things your responses always prompt another question. So so AI, a lot of discussion in the post-secondary level, even at the K through 12 level. In regards to foundational skills, I think you kind of alluded to it, the technology is not there yet to replace humans for doing jobs, but students in our pathway or your pathway with regards to AI and how you could use that technology to perceivably become a programmer, foundational skills obviously are more important than that. And that's kind of what I tell students, that, the foundational skills are never replaceable.
Nope.
So
They
any
really
other
aren't.
thoughts?
Yeah, they really aren't, because I mean, the AI builds something, but the AI can't say, Like you can't have a user come and say, hey, that doesn't work like I wanted to, and have the AI dynamically react to that and fix it. So you have to understand what the AI did so that you can fix it if there's a problem, or change it if there's something else that needs to happen. So yeah, it's foundational stuff that you always need to know, that because you need to know what's actually happening with it. Because if you have no idea what's happening with it, you can't fix it if it's broken.
Yep.
So yeah, it's huge.
Got it. So again, we want to thank Jayson for joining us today. Again, closing remarks, another engaging chapter of our MCC Office Hours podcast. Again, a heartfelt thanks to you again, Jayson, for taking time to come share about your program and your experiences.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yep. Just as a tip to our listeners who join us for this momentary escape from the world, office hours is a little inside thing at Metro. We love a lot of discussion about office hours. So again, before you press pause, remember to mark your calendars. Every Friday at noon, we're going to have these podcast episodes.
Oh, that's good.
Great conversations.
Yeah,
we could go on for days. We know.
For sure. Yeah,
so
for sure.
Glad having you here.
Time.
And we'll probably do this again in the future. So.